In this episode, we're going to explore Monte Alban, Oaxaca, Mexico. Thanks so much for joining us. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can join us for more videos like this one. And if you enjoy it, be sure to give us a like and share with your friends. And now let's get to our story. Way up high in the mountains of Oaxaca, Mexico, there is an ancient city filled with elaborate tombs, mysterious hieroglyphs, and awe-inspiring views. But the most fascinating thing about this place is that despite its grandeur, we don't know what happened to the people who built it. The site is called Monte Alban, and it was once the capital of the Zapotec civilization. It was a major cultural and political center in pre-Hispanic Mesoamerica, and one of the largest cities in the ancient world. The Zapotec civilization flourished in the valley of Oaxaca from about 500 BC to 800 AD. At their peak, they controlled a large chunk of present-day Mexico, including the modern-day state of Oaxaca, as well as parts of Puebla, Guerrero, Veracruz, and even as far away as the coast of the Pacific Ocean. Despite being such a powerful force, the Zapotecs remain shrouded in mystery. They left behind no written records, and very little is known about their language, culture, or beliefs. What we do know comes from the archaeological evidence left behind at sites like Monte Alban. The ruins of Monte Alban are located about 8 kilometers north of the city of Oaxaca de Juarez in the Sierra de las Minas Mountains. The site sits on top of a flat-topped mountain called Hierro del Fortín, at an elevation of 4,600 feet above sea level. From this vantage point, the city would have been visible for miles around, making it an ideal place to build a religious center or a capital city. The earliest evidence of human activity in the area dates back to 2500 BC, but it wasn't until around 500 BC that the Zapotecs began to establish permanent settlements here. During the preclassic period, the Zapotec settlements in the valley of Oaxaca were small agricultural villages, but by the beginning of the Classic period around 250 AD, they had grown into large cities. The Zapotec kings ruled over these cities from Monte Alban, which became the capital of the Zapotec Empire. At its peak during the late Classic period around 750 AD, Monte Alban was home to an estimated 25,000 people. This made it one of the largest cities in Mesoamerica and one of the most densely populated places in the ancient world. As the Zapotec Empire grew in power and wealth, Monte Alban became increasingly cosmopolitan. People from all over Mesoamerica came to live and work here, including the Mixtecs, the Huavs, and the Chatinos. Zapotec kings adopted the titles and symbols of the gods worshipped by the conquered peoples. Monte Alban became a melting pot of cultures and ideas. By the terminal Classic period around 900 AD, however, the Zapotec Empire was in decline. A series of droughts and earthquakes may have contributed to the collapse of their society. Whatever the reason, the Zapotec kings abandoned Monte Alban and fled to the coast, where they established new settlements along the Pacific Ocean. Today, only a few dozen people live in Monte Alban. The rest of the year it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Mexico's most popular tourist destinations. The architecture and engineering at Monte Alban are truly impressive. The city was built on a series of terraces on the mountainside. The buildings were constructed using large blocks of granite and limestone. Some of the most important structures include the following. The first structure we're going to discuss is the Danzante Palace. The Danzante Palace is one of the most mysterious structures at Monte Alban. It gets its name from the strange stone figures that decorate the building's facade. These figures appear to be dancers, but they are highly stylized and their features are difficult to make out. Some scholars believe that they represent ancestors of the Zapotec kings, while others think they are simply deities. The palace was probably used for religious ceremonies and as a residence for the Zapotec elite. Next, we will discuss the Colosseums. There are two main Colosseums at Monte Alban. The larger of the two is thought to have been used for public gatherings and as an outdoor classroom for the education of nobles. Here, Zapotec priests and scholars would have lectured on topics such as astronomy, religion, and mathematics. The smaller Colosseum was probably used for athletic competitions and other forms of entertainment. Both Colosseums are decorated with intricate carvings, including depictions of jaguars, eagles, and serpents. After this, we will discuss the Great Temple. The Great Temple is the largest and most imposing structure at Monte Alban. It was probably used for both religious and political purposes. The temple is decorated with a series of stairs called the Building of the Steps, which contain some of the most famous Zapotec hieroglyphs. These hieroglyphs are still not fully deciphered, but they are believed to tell the story of the Zapotec kings and their lineage. The Great Temple was probably destroyed by an earthquake around 750 AD, but it was rebuilt soon afterward. It continued to be used for centuries until the Zapotec capital was abandoned in the 16th century. Another important structure to mention is the Tomb of the Bat God. This tomb was discovered in 1931, and it is named for the large stone sculpture of a bat god that was found inside. The tomb is also decorated with carvings of jaguars, eagles, and other mythical creatures. It is believed that the body of a Zapotec king was buried here, but his identity has never been confirmed. Finally, we will discuss the observatory. The observatory is a small structure located on the southern slope of Monte Alban. It was probably used by Zapotec priests to observe the stars and planets. The Zapotec kept careful track of astronomical events, and they developed a sophisticated calendar system. They also had a deep understanding of mathematics and geometry, which they used to build their impressive pyramids and temples. Monte Alban is rich in artifacts, and each structure tells the story of an entire civilization. Sadly, many of these treasures have been lost to time and others have been stolen by grave robbers. But what hasn't been lost is the imagination of the archaeologists who continue to study and excavate the site today. They've uncovered burials containing jade jewelry and other valuable items, as well as caches of pottery and other artifacts. They've also found a number of stone sculptures depicting jaguars, eagles, and other mythical creatures. In addition to these material remains, the archaeologists have also recovered a number of documents written in the Zapotec language. These documents are extremely rare and valuable, as the Zapotecs left behind very few written records. They provide an invaluable window into the culture and beliefs of this ancient civilization. One of the most frustrating aspects of studying the Zapotecs is that we still haven't been able to decipher their language. This makes it difficult to learn about their culture and history through their own sources. However, the Zapotec language is slowly being deciphered, and as more and more texts are translated, we are gaining a greater understanding of this fascinating civilization. The city's most famous residents were the Zapotec kings. Little is known about them today, but they played a key role in the development of Monte Alban. Each king's reign lasted for several decades, and each left his mark on the city. Some of the most famous Zapotec kings include the following. The first king we'll discuss is King Yaga. He reigned from about 100 AD to 150 AD and is considered to be the founder of Monte Alban. Under his rule, the city grew rapidly and became one of the most important religious centers in Mesoamerica. Next, we will discuss King Cochijo. He reigned from about 200 AD to 250 AD and is credited with building the city's famous observatory. He was a great astronomer, and his knowledge of the stars and planets helped him to make accurate predictions about agricultural cycles. After this, we will discuss King Pitao Luha. He reigned from about 400 AD to 450 AD and was responsible for building the city's largest pyramid. He was also a skilled warrior and expanded the Zapotec Empire to its greatest extent. These are just a few of the Zapotec kings who ruled over Monte Alban. Each of them contributed to the city's growth and prosperity and helped to make it one of the most important cities in Mesoamerica. The legacy of Monte Alban is a complicated one. On the one hand, it was a city of great wealth and power, home to a thriving culture and a sophisticated society. On the other hand, it was also a city of darkness and death, ruled by a succession of megalomaniacal kings who cared little for the suffering of their subjects. The story of Monte Alban is a reminder that even the greatest civilizations are not immune to the forces of greed and destruction. But it's also a story of hope, of a people who, despite facing seemingly insurmountable odds, managed to create a society that thrived for centuries. The story of Monte Alban is one that we are still uncovering, and as we learn more about this fascinating site, we gain a better understanding of the ancient world and our place in it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you thought. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can join us for more videos like this one. Ever felt like the world has no secrets left? Like every corner has been mapped, every story told? Well, think again. Hidden deep within jungles and perched atop remote mountains lie forgotten cities, whispering tales of incredible civilizations that vanished into the mists of time. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey to uncover the secrets of two of the most enigmatic lost cities in the Americas. We'll delve into a Mayan metropolis where a king's tomb sparks theories of ancient astronauts, and then trek through the Colombian wilderness to find a city literally lost for centuries. So, grab your gear, because this adventure is about to begin. Our first stop takes us to the lush, green heart of Chiapas, Mexico, to the legendary city of Palenque. Imagine this. You're walking through a dense jungle, the air thick with humidity, the sounds of howler monkeys echoing through the trees. Suddenly, through a break in the canopy, you see it. Magnificent stone temples rising towards the sky, their surfaces covered in intricate carvings. This isn't just a ruin, it's a window into the soul of the Maya civilization. Palenque reached its peak between the 6th and 8th centuries AD. It was a bustling city-state, a center of power, art, and astronomy. The Maya who lived here weren't just primitive people living in the jungle. They were brilliant architects, mathematicians, and astronomers. They developed a complex writing system, created a calendar more accurate than the one used in Europe at the time, and built these incredible structures without the use of metal tools, wheels, or beasts of burden. Just think about the sheer ingenuity that required. The heart of Palenque is the Temple of the Inscriptions. It's not just the tallest and most majestic pyramid here. It holds one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. For years, everyone thought Mayan pyramids were just ceremonial platforms, unlike their Egyptian counterparts which served as tombs. But in 1952, an archaeologist named Alberto Ruz Luillet noticed something odd about a stone slab on the temple floor. After 4 long years of clearing a secret passageway filled with rubble, he broke into a hidden crypt. Inside, he found the sarcophagus of Palenque's greatest ruler, Kinich Janab Pakal, or Pakal the Great. The air was still, preserved for over 1,000 years. Pakal lay there, adorned with a stunning jade death mask and surrounded by treasures. This discovery completely changed our understanding of Mayan pyramids. They weren't just temples. They were sacred mountains, gateways to the underworld, and final resting places for their divine kings. But the real mystery lies on the lid of Pakal's sarcophagus. The carving is incredibly detailed. Mainstream archaeologists interpret it as a classic piece of Mayan cosmology. It shows Pakal at the moment of his death, falling into the jaws of the underworld monster. Above him, the world tree, a central element in Mayan belief, rises towards the celestial realm, connecting the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. It's a powerful depiction of death and rebirth. However, there's another, more out-of-this-world interpretation. In the 1960s, author Erich von Däniken looked at this carving and saw something completely different. He didn't see a king falling into the underworld. He saw an astronaut. Look closely at the image from his perspective. Pakal is reclining in what looks like a seat. His hands appear to be on controls, his foot on a pedal. His nose seems to be connected to some sort of breathing apparatus. The world tree, could be seen as fire and smoke blasting from the back of a rocket. The underworld monster could be the engine assembly of a spacecraft. Could Pakal the Great have been an ancient astronaut, a visitor from another world, whose people were seen as gods by the Maya? Is his sarcophagus lid not a depiction of spiritual passage, but a technical diagram of his spaceship, a final farewell before blasting off back to the stars? It's a fascinating theory that has captured the imagination of millions. While it's not accepted by mainstream science, it makes you look at Palenque with a new sense of wonder. Whether it's a story of Mayan spirituality or extraterrestrial contact, the tomb of Pakal proves that Palenque is a city that still holds profound mysteries, carved in stone and waiting to be deciphered. Now, let's leave the mysteries of the Maya behind and prepare for a much more grueling journey. We're heading south, to the dense, mountainous jungle of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia. This is one of the most remote and rugged landscapes on the planet, and for centuries, it guarded an incredible secret: the Lost City, or Ciudad Perdida. Unlike Palenque, which was rediscovered and studied for decades, Ciudad Perdida remained truly lost to the outside world until the 1970s. The city was built around 800 AD by the Tairona people, making it about 650 years older than the famous Machu Picchu in Peru. It was a thriving terraced city, a complex network of stone plazas, homes, and pathways carved directly into the steep mountainside. Imagine a city of interconnected rings, climbing up the mountain like a spiral, all engineered to perfection to prevent erosion from the heavy tropical rains. The Tairona were masters of goldwork and engineering. They lived in harmony with their environment, a skill their descendants, the Kogi, Arhuaco, and Wiwa peoples, still practice today. These indigenous communities consider the Sierra Nevada to be the heart of the world, a sacred place that maintains the balance of the entire planet. For them, Ciudad Perdida was never truly lost. It was simply dormant, a sacred site they continued to revere from a distance. So how was it found? The story is like something out of a movie. In the early 1970s, a group of local treasure hunters, or guaqueros, were searching for ancient tombs to loot. They stumbled upon a series of 1-200 stone steps rising steeply up the jungle floor. After a grueling climb, they emerged onto a series of stone terraces, completely overgrown but undeniably the ruins of a major city. They had found the Tairona's greatest metropolis. Word of the gold artifacts being sold on the black market eventually reached archaeologists, who launched an official expedition in 1976. The journey to get there is an adventure in itself. Even today, the only way to reach Ciudad Perdida is a multi-day trek through dense jungle, crossing rivers and climbing steep, muddy trails. It has a physically demanding pilgrimage that weeds out casual tourists and rewards the determined with an unforgettable experience. As you finally climb those 200 ancient steps, known as the Stairway to Heaven, you feel a sense of accomplishment and awe. You emerge from the jungle into the light, and the city reveals itself terrace by terrace. It's much more subtle than Palenque. There are no towering pyramids, but a sprawling complex of circular stone foundations where thatched roof huts once stood. The feeling here is different. It is less about grand monuments and more about the intricate relationship between a people and their environment. You can almost hear the echoes of daily life, of children playing on the plazas, of shamans performing rituals on the highest terraces. Visiting Ciudad Perdida today is a profound experience, largely because of the involvement of the local indigenous communities. They are the guardians of this sacred place. They often accompany treks and share their perspective, explaining that this isn't just an archaeological site, but a living, spiritual center. It's a powerful reminder that while we might call these places lost, they were never forgotten by the people whose ancestors built them. From the cosmic mysteries of Palenque to the sacred serenity of Ciudad Perdida, these cities challenge our perception of the past. They show us that ancient peoples possessed incredible knowledge, artistry, and a deep connection to both the cosmos and the Earth. They remind us that there are still secrets out there, hidden in the wild places of our world, waiting for those willing to seek them out. What do you think? Was Pakal an astronaut or a king on a spiritual journey? The beauty of these places is that they invite us to wonder. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Until next time, keep exploring. We're off to explore some of the most mysterious ancient sites that will blow your mind. So make sure to like this video, leave a comment below, and let's get started. Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, USA. First up, we have to go to Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. This is one of the most amazing places in the country. It's filled with huge stone structures that are aligned perfectly with certain stars and the sun. The thing is, nobody really knows who did this or why. The structures are called great houses. And the main attraction is a place called Pueblo Bonito. This is the largest building at Chaco Canyon. You can see how massive it is just from the drone footage. Just imagine being an explorer back in the day and finding this for the first time. You would think you had just discovered the ruins of an ancient city. Well, that's exactly what explorers thought when they found Chaco Canyon for the first time. But there is so much more to these ruins than meets the eye. These buildings were constructed around 850 AD and took about 200 years to finish. That puts their construction somewhere between 850 and 650 BC. They were built by the ancestral Puebloans, but we don't know exactly who they were. Some scientists believe they may have been related to the Hopi or the Zuni people, but others think they could have been a completely separate race of people. Why? Well, because we haven't been able to decipher any of their writing. We also don't know why they built such large buildings in the middle of the desert. Scientists originally believed that Chaco Canyon was some kind of ceremonial site. But after finding artifacts like tools and animal bones, they realized that people actually lived here. Chaco Canyon wasn't abandoned until around 1300 AD, right around the time that the Mayan civilization fell apart. For hundreds of years, researchers couldn't figure out why the ancestral Puebloans abandoned their homes. Then, in 2017, scientists made a shocking discovery. Researchers from the University of Texas conducted a study on pollen preserved in the sediment layers of Pueblo Bonito. They found that the ancient Puebloans had farmed a type of bean called frijol beans. These beans had been brought to North America from South America thousands of years before. The scientists believe that the ancestral Puebloans farmed these beans during a time when the climate in the Southwest was extremely dry. Their farming efforts failed, and that's why they left Chaco Canyon. Either that, or there was some kind of ecological collapse. But we may never know for sure. What we do know is that Chaco Canyon is one of the most mysterious places in the United States. There are still many secrets hidden within its walls. Goseck Circle, Germany. Now we have to fly across the Atlantic and go to Goseck, Germany. Here you can find something that looks like Stonehenge, except it came hundreds of years before Stonehenge was built. Archaeologists call it the Goseck Circle. It's an ancient circular ditch and bank monument. It was built during the Neolithic period, meaning it was made before 4500 BC. The reason why it's so special is because it's one of the oldest monuments of its kind in Europe. It's about 5,000 years old, which makes it older than Stonehenge by about 1,000 years. But how did archaeologists find this place? Well, it was only discovered in 2003 by Klaus Germann. He was walking near his house one day when he noticed something odd in a farmer's field. There was a large gap in the trees and it looked like there was a huge pit in the ground. He decided to take a closer look and he soon realized he had stumbled upon something incredible. The pit was actually a circle, and it had been carefully dug out by hand thousands of years ago. Over the next few months, Klaus and his friends returned to the site. They began to uncover the secrets of the Goseck Circle. At first, all they found was a large ditch, but as they kept digging, they uncovered even more secrets. They found traces of early human habitation, This included things like animal bones and flint tools. They also found 2 human skulls and several pieces of pottery. But by far the most interesting thing they found was a wooden pin. This pin was decorated with strange symbols and markings. Researchers still don't know exactly what the symbols mean, but they believe they may hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the Gojek Circle. It may tell us why the circle was built in the first place. Unfortunately, the Gojek Circle was damaged during World War II. Bombs dropped by Allied forces destroyed a big part of the monument. That's why not much remains today. Only a small section of the outer ditch and bank can be seen from the surface. If you want to learn more about it, you can visit the local museum in Gojek. But if you want to see it for yourself, well, good luck. It's now covered by crops and houses. The Plain of Jars, Laos. Next, we have to go to the other side of the world to a place called the Plain of Jars. This is located in Laos, which is a small country in Southeast Asia. In the 1930s, French explorers came across a collection of huge stone jars. They were scattered across a wide open plain. There were so many of these jars, and they were so big. The explorers thought they must have belonged to some kind of giant. Well, it turns out they were actually created by humans. Nobody knows exactly how they were made or why, but scientists believe they were used for burial purposes. To make things even more mysterious, nobody knows who put them there. Archaeologists have dated the jars to be between 300 BC and 300 AD. This means they were made by an unknown prehistoric culture. But no archaeological evidence has ever been found. All that's left today are the jars. There are hundreds of them scattered across the plain. Some of the jars are only a few feet tall. Others are over 10 feet tall. But that's not even the strangest thing about them. The jars have lids. And to this day, nobody knows how they were put on top of the jars. Some scientists say the lids were somehow rolled on top. Others say they were lowered onto the jars using ropes or levers. The truth is, nobody knows. And that's what makes the Plain of Jars so mysterious. But it gets even stranger. During the Vietnam War, American soldiers came across the Plain of Jars. They tried to use the jars as toilets, but when they did, human bones fell out. That's when they realized the jars were used for burials. Ever since then, the Plain of Jars has been protected by the government of Laos. It's illegal to touch or remove any of the jars. If you're caught doing so, you can be fined or imprisoned. Stonehenge, England. Now we have to go to one of the most famous stone circles in the world, Stonehenge. This is an ancient monument located in Wiltshire, England. It was built in 3 stages. First, a circular ditch was dug. Then, large stones were erected in a circle. Finally, smaller stones were arranged in a horseshoe shape. Scientists believe that Stonehenge was used as a burial ground. It was likely also used for religious ceremonies and festivals. But that's not the only theory. Some say Stonehenge was once a prison. Others believe it was a settlement, but we may never know for sure. What we do know is that Stonehenge is one of the most popular tourist destinations in England. Every year, thousands of people come to see this amazing structure. Thanks for watching. Do you know of any other mysterious ancient sites? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. In the flat, swampy lands of the American Midwest, hidden amongst the modern houses of the sprawling city of Collinsville, Illinois, you can find a circle of enormous wooden posts, each one taller than a human and all meticulously aligned to track the solstices. This is the mysterious Woodhenge at Cahokia. And today we'll explore how this structure was used for astronomical observations by the vanished culture of North American mound builders. The year was 1969, and archaeologists were busy excavating a Native American site near the modern city of Collinsville, Illinois. The site was called Cahokia, after the nearby town, and would soon be revealed as the largest settlement ever occupied by indigenous people in the entire prehistoric Americas. But that wasn't the only thing they found here, because while exploring a large circular area, researchers discovered a series of huge wooden posts sticking out of the ground. all perfectly aligned with the solstices. The team had just uncovered the oldest and largest timber structure ever found in North America and named it the Woodhenge. While excavating the site, scientists also found cremated human remains and animal bones, suggesting the area may have been a place of ritualistic activity. What's more, these huge wooden pillars were likely set up about 1,000 years ago by an advanced pre-Columbian culture, but nobody knew who built it or why. But first, let's take a closer look at the structure itself because the Woodhenge really is quite something. Located in the center of the ancient settlement, this circular arrangement of 56 wooden pillars was almost 120 feet across and constructed from oak trees, some measuring over a foot in diameter. Each post was painstakingly pounded into the ground using stone tools, taking a lot of time and effort to complete. But that's not all, because the pillars weren't simply placed randomly, but instead were carefully positioned to track the movements of the sun. In fact, the solstices were so important to the people who lived here that they built two separate structures to observe them. The first, known as the axial structure, features two long rows of pillars aligned with the sunrise and sunset during the summer and winter solstices. If that sounds incredible, then buckle up because there's even more to see. For in front of the axial structure sits another series of wooden pillars arranged in 3 concentric circles. These are the solstice circles, and when viewed from above, they form a giant compass rose pointing directly to the 4 cardinal directions. Archaeologists believe that people would have stood between the 2 outer circles to watch the rising and setting sun during the solstices. As the sun reached its highest point in the sky on the summer solstice, its rays would have passed through the central opening in the Woodhenge to illuminate the innermost circle of wooden pillars. And the same would have happened on the winter solstice, except the light would pass through the opposite end of the structure. This was no accident because these alignments prove that the builders of Cahokia were keen observers of the cosmos, possibly using astronomy to keep track of seasons, plan agricultural activities, and conduct rituals. They also used other nearby mounds at the settlement to monitor the celestial bodies, like the so-called Serpent Mound, which features a giant reptile-like shape that aligns with significant stars and constellations. But the discovery of the Woodhenge at Cahokia raises more questions than it answers, like how did this advanced culture appear seemingly out of nowhere? To find the answer, we have to travel back in time. Thousands of years before the arrival of Europeans, the Mississippi Valley was home to several Mississippian cultures, societies of indigenous people who built large earthen mounds as burial grounds and platforms for elite residences. The earliest Mississippian culture was the Hopewell, who thrived between roughly 100 BC and 500 AD. Although they didn't leave behind any pottery or metal tools, their influence spread across hundreds of miles, trading with as many as 40 different tribes. But the Hopewell mysteriously vanished around the year 500 and were replaced by a new culture, the Fort Ancient, who would eventually build the famous Serpent Mound near Chillicothe, Ohio. But the Fort Ancient would vanish too, only to be succeeded by yet another society, the Mississippians proper, who would construct massive settlements like Cahokia. And to learn more about them, we'll have to visit the great city itself. Covering an area of 6 square miles, Cahokia was home to about 10,000 people in the 8th century AD, making it larger than London at the time, and one of the biggest cities in the entire world. But like other Mississippian settlements, Cahokia was mostly built on a floodplain near the Mississippi River. To avoid flooding, the residents constructed their homes on top of massive earthen mounds, like the 100-foot-tall Monk's Mound, which once featured a large wooden palace at its summit. The people of Cahokia also built enormous circular enclosures to serve as ball courts where they played a unique game involving a rubber ball and high-scoring hoops. These ball games were probably ritualistic and served to reinforce social bonds within the community. However, the residents of Cahokia and other Mississippian cities weren't just playing games. They were also heavily involved in trade, creating vast networks that stretched from the Gulf of Mexico to the Great Lakes. In fact, a few artifacts have been found at Cahokia that were made thousands of miles away, proving that the Mississippians were true masters of transportation. But sadly, the prosperity didn't last. Sometime around the year 1400, the Mississippian culture abruptly collapsed, leaving behind a legacy of giant earthen mounds and mysterious wooden structures. But what caused their downfall? The answer might surprise you because unlike other ancient civilizations, the Mississippians left behind no written records or monumental architecture like pyramids or temples. Instead, all we know about them comes from archaeological evidence, which shows that their way of life was violently disrupted by climate change. Around the year 1200, a severe drought struck the American Midwest, killing off much of the local wildlife and forcing people to abandon their homes in search of new settlements. A few decades later, the climate began to cool, leading to an ice age that lasted until 1300. This would have devastated the native population who relied on hunting and gathering for food. But it wasn't just the weather. Scientists also discovered a massive earthquake near New Madrid, Missouri, which could have leveled entire sections of Cahokia and triggered a chain reaction that led to the collapse of society. So, who actually built the Woodhenge? We don't know for sure, but it was probably constructed by the late Mississippian culture sometime after the year 1000 AD. And while we don't know exactly how they built such an enormous structure, recent experiments show that it might have been created using a simple technology known as a Kell test, basically a type of crane used to lift heavy objects to high places. By combining these wooden structures with their knowledge of astronomy, the Mississippians would have been able to accurately predict the solstices and possibly even keep track of time itself. But sadly, this advanced culture would vanish less than 2 centuries later, potentially driven out by hostile tribes from the north. Whatever the case, their descendants would continue to thrive in the region for centuries, leaving behind a legacy of mounds, temples, and wooden structures that still baffle us to this day. If you're interested in visiting the Woodhenge yourself, then I have some good news for you. While the original structure has unfortunately been destroyed, archaeologists have reconstructed it using modern tools, and it's open to the public at the Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site. So be sure to pay this amazing place a visit if you get the chance. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out my others for more, and remember to subscribe for more content. Thanks. Bye. This is Sacsayhuaman in Peru. It's an ancient fortress of massive stones so tightly fitted together that not even a blade can pass between them, and it's impossible by today's standards. We don't know how they did it. It is a fortress located in the Cusco region of Peru, above the city of Cusco. It was built by the Inca around the year 1450 AD. It's impressive because the stones are so huge, so heavy and fit together so tightly that it's impossible to get a blade between them. Modern technology cannot duplicate this level of craftsmanship. Before we continue, make sure to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. Also, stick around until the end to learn about something really exciting. The fortress is high up in the mountains above the city of Cusco. To reach the site from Cusco, it takes about an hour drive, then a half-hour walk through a village. From there, you hike up a mountain trail for about 20 minutes. Once you arrive at the top, you will have a view like this. It is breathtaking. You look out over the valley and the mountains surrounding it. There are other mountains with ruins on top. So, if you have time, you can explore more after seeing Sacsayhuaman. But most people come here for just the fortress. There are some interesting legends about the construction of Sacsayhuaman. One legend says that the Inca king Pachacuti ordered his son to build the fortress, and when the son was finished, he killed him so that nobody would know how it was done. Another story claims that the stones moved by themselves and the Inca simply followed where they went. Whatever the truth, the fortress is impressive. The name Sacsayhuaman comes from Quechua language. It means satisfied, or it means the place of the ancient sacrifice. Nobody knows for sure. The fortress itself has 4 sections: the main wall, the Temple of the Moon, the Red Dye House, and the Quarry. They are all connected by pathways and stairs. The fortress may have been used for military purposes, but it also may have served as a religious center, astronomical observatory, or royal residence. When the Spanish arrived, they adapted the fortress to their needs and used it as a palace. The main attraction here are the walls. The stones used are incredibly large and weigh several tons. The walls are so well made that you can hardly get a fingernail between the stones. Let me repeat that. Not even a blade can be slid between the rocks. Some people try doing this to prove that the stones aren't really fitted so tightly, but nobody succeeds. How did they do it? We don't know. Maybe it's a mystery forever. The Inca were great builders, but they didn't use mortar or cement to hold the stones together. So, how did they do it? Well, they had techniques such as overlapping stones at different angles, putting smaller stones in the gaps between larger ones, and using special tools to carve the stones. Perhaps there were also natural factors like earthquakes that helped settle the stones in place. However, none of these factors alone explain how such a tight fit could be achieved. Many scientists have examined the fortress and proposed various theories, but we don't know the full story. The main wall surrounds the entire complex and is 3,500 feet long. It is the largest and most impressive section of the fortress. At its highest points, the wall reaches 26 feet tall. In some places, the wall follows the contour of the mountain, making it difficult to see. Visitors can walk along the top of the wall, looking down over the valley below. When the sun shines, it can be blinding, so be careful. There are many steep drops here, and it can be dangerous. Inside the main wall is the Temple of the Moon. Here, archaeologists found evidence of religious ceremonies, such as a stone altar used for animal sacrifices. They also found a tunnel leading to the red dye house. The tunnel is 98 feet long and only 3 feet high. It was probably used for ventilation, but we're not sure. The tunnel has 2 openings. One opening leads to the red dye house, which gets its name from the red stones inside. The other opening leads to the fortress's quarry, which is a source of many questions. How did the Inca get such big stones to the top of the mountain? How did they cut the stones without the right tools? How did they move them without modern equipment? We don't have the answers. We only know that they brought the stones here, shaped them, and put them together. The Inca were master builders, but we can't understand how they did some things. Maybe we lack the knowledge needed to comprehend their techniques. The last part of the fortress is the quarry, which is where the Inca got the stones. They chose the stones carefully and only used the best ones for the fortress. Many stones were never used and remain in the quarry. They are still attached to the mountainside. Here you can see how the Inca prepared the stones. They carved channels and holes into the rock, then broke off large chunks. Sometimes they left the pieces in the mountain, and sometimes they took them down to use at the fortress. As you can see, there are still many mysteries at Sacsayhuaman, but it doesn't keep scientists from trying to solve them. Every year, new research is conducted, and we learn something new about the Inca. But, for now, we don't know much about the fortress. Many tourists visit this site every year. Some say it's one of the best places in Peru. Others claim it's better than Machu Picchu. It's hard to argue with either statement. Both places are beautiful and mysterious. But if you want to see Sacsayhuaman for yourself, there are some important things you need to know. It's pretty easy to get to Sacsayhuaman. From Cusco, take a taxi to the village of Puma Runtui. The ride takes about an hour. Then you have to walk 30 minutes to the trailhead. The hike to the fortress takes about 20 minutes. Be careful because it can be slippery. Bring water and snacks. There are no facilities at the fortress. Also, bring your passport. Non-Peruvians must pay $79 for admission. Cameras are allowed, so don't forget to bring yours. Most importantly, wear comfortable shoes. You will do a lot of walking. If you have knee problems or other physical limitations, this site may not be for you. There are steep drops and uneven terrain. Finally, dress in layers. The weather can change quickly and you don't want to be caught unprepared. This has been my channel. Remember to subscribe for more videos. And now it's time to make a decision. Would you rather visit Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman? Let me know in the comments section below. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever seen something so impossible, so perfectly crafted that it makes you question everything you thought you knew about the past? Today, we're journeying high into the Andes Mountains of Bolivia, to a place that continues to baffle historians, engineers, and archaeologists alike. Welcome to Tiahuanaco. Located nearly 13,000 feet above sea level, on the shores of the legendary Lake Titicaca, Tiahuanaco is one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites on Earth. The official story tells us this was the capital of a powerful pre-Incan empire that flourished for over 1,000 years. But the deeper you look, the more questions arise. And these questions aren't small. They're carved into stones weighing hundreds of tons. Let's talk about these stones. We're not just talking about big rocks piled on top of each other. We're talking about megaliths like the Acapana Pyramid, with its largest stone block weighing an estimated 131 tons, or the Pumapunku Complex, a nearby site often considered part of the larger Tiahuanaco civilization, where you'll find stones weighing over 100 tons. To put that in perspective, 100 tons is the equivalent of about 50 large SUVs. Now, imagine trying to move one of these blocks, let alone quarry it, shape it, and lift it into place. The nearest quarry for the red sandstone is over 6 miles away. The quarry for the even harder andesite stone is more than 55 miles away, across the vast and deep Lake Titicaca. How did a civilization, supposedly without the wheel, without a written language, and without modern lifting technology, achieve this? The sheer logistics are mind-boggling. Some theories suggest they used reed boats, but moving a 100-ton block on a boat made of reeds? It pushes the limits of what we consider possible. But the mystery doesn't stop with the weight. It's the precision that truly sends shivers down your spine. When you look at the stones of Pumapunku, you'll see cuts so straight, so perfectly 90 degrees, they look as though they were sliced by a laser. You'll find complex interlocking shapes, known as H-blocks, scattered across the site. These blocks are uniform, as if mass-produced from a single template, fitting together with such accuracy that you can't even slide a piece of paper between them. The drill holes found in some of the andesite blocks are another puzzle. They are perfectly circular and have consistent groove marks, suggesting the use of a rotational tool. But andesite is an incredibly hard volcanic rock, just below diamond on the Mohs scale of hardness. What kind of drill could a Bronze Age culture have possessed to cut through this material with such ease and precision? Mainstream archaeology suggests they used simple hand tools and abrasives like sand. But could that really create these flawless, intricate patterns? Many engineers who have studied the site remain skeptical, arguing that the level of craftsmanship seems to point to a technology far beyond what we attribute to ancient peoples. This leads us to the biggest question of all. Who were the builders of Tiahuanaco? And when did they build it? The conventional timeline places the height of the Tiahuanaco civilization between 500 and 1000 AD. However, some researchers, like the controversial Arthur Poznansky, studied the astronomical alignments of the main temple, the Kalasasaya, and proposed a much older date. He argued that the temple's sun gate was aligned with the stars as they would have appeared around 15,000 BC. While his dating methods have been widely criticized and largely dismissed by mainstream academia, the idea of a much older, lost civilization persists. Could Tiahuanaco be the remnant of a forgotten chapter of human history? A civilization that rose and fell long before our records begin? When you stand here, amidst these silent, monumental stones under the vast, thin air of the Altiplano, it's hard not to wonder. Look at the Gateway of the Sun, one of the most famous icons of the site. It is carved from a single block of andesite and features the enigmatic staff god at its center, surrounded by 48 winged figures. Is this a deity, an astronomical calendar, a story frozen in stone? The figures are depicted with a precision that suggests a deep understanding of geometry and symbolism, a language we are still trying to decipher. The site is a graveyard of giants. The stones lie scattered, toppled, and broken. What happened here? Was it a cataclysmic earthquake? A flood? The result of a brutal invasion? The ruins themselves seem to tell a story of sudden and violent destruction. The H-blocks of Pumapunku are strewn about like a child's discarded toys, a testament to a powerful force that brought this architectural marvel to its knees. The theories surrounding Tiahuanaco are as vast as the Altiplano itself. Some believe the builders possessed a lost technology, a forgotten science of construction and stonework. Others, venturing into more speculative territory, propose the involvement of extraterrestrial visitors, ancient aliens who shared their advanced knowledge with early humans. While that's a fascinating thought, we don't need to look to the stars to be amazed. The mystery, right here on Earth, is profound enough. The truth is, we just don't know. Tiahuanaco stands as a powerful reminder of how little we truly understand about our own past. It challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient cultures and forces us to admit that there are gaps in our historical narrative. These stones don't just weigh hundreds of tons, they carry the weight of unanswered questions. What do you think? How could a civilization, thousands of years ago at 13,000 feet, create something so monumental and precise? Was it sheer human ingenuity and manpower on a scale we can't comprehend? Or is there a piece of the puzzle we're missing? The debate over Tiahuanaco isn't just about stone and dates, it's about our own origin story. It's a detective story written in megaliths, and we are all invited to try and solve it. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey to the highlands of Bolivia. If you found this mystery as captivating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the world's greatest enigmas. Let me know your theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Until next time, keep questioning. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey deep into the heart of the Colombian jungle, to a place shrouded in mystery and legend. Forget what you think you know about ancient cities, because we're going somewhere older, more remote, and arguably more enigmatic than Machu Picchu. This is the story of Ciudad Perdida, the lost city of the Tairona people. Imagine trekking for days through dense, humid rainforest, crossing rushing rivers, and climbing steep mountain slopes. The air is thick with the sounds of exotic birds and unseen creatures. Then, through a break in the trees, you see it. A series of stone terraces climbing a mountainside, a city literally carved out of the wilderness. This isn't a movie set. This is a real-life adventure into a world that was hidden from outsiders for over 400 years. Ciudad Perdida, which literally means lost city in Spanish, was founded around 800 AD. That makes it a staggering 650 years older than its more famous counterpart in Peru. For centuries, it was the vibrant political and manufacturing center of the Tairona civilization. Picture this: thousands of people living here, their lives governed by the rhythms of the jungle and the wisdom of their spiritual leaders, the Mamos. They were master craftsmen, skilled farmers, and brilliant engineers. So, what happened? Why did this thriving city vanish from history? Around the 16th century, the arrival of Spanish conquistadors brought conflict and disease, devastating the indigenous populations. The Tairona, facing unimaginable hardship, made the difficult decision to abandon their sacred city, allowing the relentless jungle to reclaim it. For centuries, its existence was known only to the local indigenous communities, the Kogi, Wiwa, Arhuaco, and Cancuamo, who are the direct descendants of the Tairona, and consider this site the sacred heart of their world. The city remained a secret until the 1970s, when a group of local treasure hunters stumbled upon it by accident. They found a staircase of over 1,200 stone steps leading up from a riverbank into the clouds. What they uncovered was a complex network of plazas, homes, and ceremonial sites connected by stone-paved roads and stairways. They called it Green Hell because of the treacherous journey, but what they really found was a lost paradise. The trek to Ciudad Perdida today is one of the world's greatest adventures. It is a challenging multi-day hike that tests your endurance but rewards you with breathtaking scenery and an unparalleled connection to the past. It's not just a tourist trail, it's a pilgrimage. Along the way, you pass through the villages of the indigenous Kogi people, who still practice the ancient traditions of their Tairona ancestors. Seeing them live in harmony with the land their forefathers ruled is a profoundly humbling experience. They are the true guardians of this place. The heart of Ciudad Perdida is its central axis, a series of terraced platforms rising up the mountain. These weren't just for farming, they were the foundations for circular homes and ceremonial huts. Imagine standing on the highest terrace, looking out over the endless green expanse of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. You can almost hear the echoes of the past, the sounds of daily life, the chanting of the mamos, the bustling energy of a city alive. The engineering is incredible. The Tairona built sophisticated drainage systems to manage the heavy tropical rains, which is why the city has survived so well for over a millennium. Unlike many other archaeological sites, Ciudad Perdida isn't fully excavated. It's estimated that we've only seen about 10% of what's actually there. The rest remains buried, protected by the jungle and the wishes of the indigenous communities. This isn't a place to be exploited. It's a place to be respected. The Mamos believe that Ciudad Perdida is the spiritual center of the world, a place where the balance between humanity and nature is maintained. They perform rituals here to heal the earth, and visiting feels like you're stepping onto hallowed ground. One of the most powerful aspects of visiting is understanding the Tairona cosmology. They saw the Sierra Nevada mountains as a living pyramid, with the snowy peaks representing the head, the lagoons of the Paramo representing the heart, and the rivers representing the veins. The entire landscape was sacred. They were not just building a city, they were creating a physical manifestation of their spiritual beliefs, perfectly integrated with the natural world. The precision of the stonework, the complexity of the urban planning, and the sheer scale of the city are a testament to a civilization that was far more advanced than many people realize. They left behind no written language, so their story is told through these stones, through the oral traditions of their descendants, and through the very spirit of the jungle itself. It's a story of resilience, of deep spiritual connection to the earth, and of a wisdom that we could all learn from today. Visiting Ciudad Perdida isn't just about seeing ruins, it's about experiencing a living culture and a sacred landscape. It forces you to disconnect from the modern world and reconnect with something more fundamental. It's a journey that changes you, leaving you with a profound sense of awe and a deep respect for the history and the people who have preserved it. The city wasn't truly lost. It was just waiting, protected by the jungle and its guardians, for the right time to share its secrets with the world. So, if you're looking for an adventure that will challenge your body and inspire your soul, add the trek to Ciudad Perdida to your bucket list. It is a powerful reminder that some of the world's greatest treasures are not made of gold, but of stone, spirit, and the enduring strength of the human connection to nature. Thank you so much for joining me on this virtual journey to Colombia's lost city. I hope it sparked a sense of wonder in you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Let me know in the comments what other lost cities you'd like to see us explore. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Caral is an ancient Peruvian city that's older than the pyramids of Giza. It was built around 2600 BC along the Supa Valley about 4 hours north of Lima, and it was abandoned around 2000 BC, which means it was around for 600 years. The reason it lasted so long is because it was in such a great location. Caral was located near 2 rivers. These rivers provided water to grow crops, and the rivers were also full of fish, meaning the people of Caral had plenty to eat. Caral wasn't just a settlement or a village. It was a sprawling city that covered more than 66 acres. We don't know how many people lived there, but its size suggests it could have been home to over 30,000 people at its peak. Caral had everything a large city would have. There were temples and pyramids and plazas and even garbage dumps. and yet there was no sign of walls or fortifications. Archaeologists haven't found any evidence that the people of Corral ever went to war. Instead, they specialized in growing cotton and sweet potatoes and squash and maize and beans. They probably traded these crops with other settlements too, because archaeologists have found pottery from Ecuador, Chile, and even Colombia in Corral. But why did this huge, prosperous city get abandoned? Well, we don't really know. There are theories, of course. But here's the thing. Archaeologists haven't actually dated the end of the city. In fact, they haven't dated much of anything except for a few clay tablets. This is because Corral is made out of adobe bricks. Adobe bricks are dried mud and clay, and they don't preserve well. They tend to fall apart after only a few decades, which makes ancient cities made out of them hard to date. Because Corral is so old, most of it has turned to dust. Of what remains, we can see that it was carefully planned out. All throughout the city, there are straight lines that lead from the main pyramid to various structures on the outskirts. These straight lines make right angles with other sets of lines that come from another pyramid. It's almost like the streets of Corral were laid out with some kind of grid system, which is crazy to think about considering that Corral is older than the Hanging Gardens of Babylon and the ancient city of Ur. Archaeologists think each section of the city was given to a different chief when they got married. Each chief then built their own pyramids and palaces and temples, and the city grew outward in a very orderly way. But since the buildings were made out of adobe, we can't tell exactly how big each section was. And without knowing the dates of the various sections, we don't know how long the city was occupied. What we do know is that the people of Corral built their houses and palaces and temples in the shape of pyramids. Now, these pyramids aren't like the pyramids of Egypt where they're designed to be tombs. The pyramids of Corral were designed to be platforms for temples. One of the largest pyramids in Corral is the Big Pyramid, also known as the Pyramid of Washi. It stands 184 feet tall and has 9 levels. The entrance to the pyramid is on the 4th level, but it collapses as soon as you enter. The second pyramid was built a little bit later, and it's slightly bigger than the first. It's 201 feet tall and has 10 levels. The entrance to this pyramid was designed to fool you. It looks like there's an entrance on every level, but all the entrances are fake except for the one on the 9th level. This pyramid has staircases built into the side of it, but they lead nowhere. They just end abruptly halfway up the pyramid. Since there are no stairs leading to the top of the pyramids, archaeologists think the priests of Corral had to climb up a ramp. The ramp would have been covered with mats so nobody would slip and fall. Then, once the priest reached the top, he could walk under a stone doorway into the temple. Speaking of temples, we haven't even talked about the Sacred Plaza. The Sacred Plaza was the center of public life in Corral. It was a place where the townspeople would have celebrated festivals and important ceremonies. There were also 3 round plazas in Corral. The largest one was 425 feet wide. Archaeologists think these plazas were used for ritualistic ball games. There were also residential neighborhoods, administrative areas, and workshops. The city was basically divided into 3 parts. On one side was the Central Plaza and the pyramids. In the middle was the residential district, and on the far side was the industrial district. The residential district was pretty cramped. Houses were built right up against each other and there wasn't much room for gardens. The houses themselves were pretty small, though the chief's house was a mansion compared to the rest. It was 12 rooms, and its walls were decorated with paintings. The industrial area, however, was pretty spacious. There were workshops and storage areas and even sewage systems. The city was surprisingly clean, too. Every block had a public bathroom and there were trash dumps on the outskirts of town. Now, this doesn't mean the people of Corral were clean. After all, they threw their trash outside the city walls, but compared to other ancient cities, Corral was pretty sanitary. So, how did such a nice city get abandoned? Well, there are lots of theories. Some experts say the river changed course and the people of Corral had to abandon their homes. Others say there was a massive earthquake that destroyed the city. A third theory says the whole population migrated to another city. But none of these theories have been proven. What makes this even weirder is that Caral wasn't the only city to be abandoned in Peru. There were dozens of Norte Chico cultures spread throughout the country. They built pyramids and temples and even ceremonial centers. All of them were eventually abandoned for no apparent reason. And all of them were built without the use of beasts of burden, metal tools, or even a writing system. As for the pyramids of Caral, they remain a mystery. Despite being older than the pyramids of Giza, they were never meant to be tombs. That means the kings of Caral weren't buried inside them, but we have no idea what happened to their bodies. If they were cremated, the evidence has been lost to time. If they were mummified, the evidence has been lost to looters. Caral is a perfect example of what can happen to a civilization if you don't keep records. We have no idea how many important people died in Caral. We don't know who the chiefs were, or who the priests were, or who the kings were. All we know is that the civilization existed, and then it didn't. Now, before you go, check out Mysterious Unsolved Murder of Jimmy Hoffa. Or watch this video instead. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're journeying to the rolling hills of southern Ohio, but we're not just here for the scenery. We're here to uncover one of North America's greatest archaeological mysteries, the Great Serpent Mound. Imagine a massive, winding earthwork over 300 feet long, sculpted into the landscape with incredible care and precision. This isn't just a pile of dirt, it's an ancient effigy, a giant snake seemingly slithering across the plateau, its head appearing to swallow a large oval shape. For generations, this silent serpent has guarded its secrets, leaving us with more questions than answers. Who built it? Why did they build it? And what happened to the culture that possessed such sophisticated knowledge? Join me as we peel back the layers of time to explore the enigma of the Great Serpent Mound. First, let's talk about the sheer scale of this thing. To truly appreciate it, you have to see it from above. The mound is 1/4 mile long, with 7 distinct coils making up its body, ending in a tightly wound triple-coiled tail. The head is the most fascinating part. It's an open-jawed serpent, seemingly about to consume a large oval embankment that's 120 feet long. Some researchers believe this oval represents an egg, the sun, or even another celestial body. The construction itself is a marvel. It was built layer by layer, with carefully selected clay and rocks forming a base, all covered with soil. This wasn't a haphazard project. It was planned and executed with a deep understanding of engineering and a clear artistic vision. Standing here on the observation tower, you can't help but feel a sense of awe at the labor and dedication it must have taken an ancient people, without modern tools, to create such a monumental work of art that has endured for centuries. So, the million-dollar question: who were the master builders? For a long time, the mound was attributed to the Adena culture, who were active in this region from about 800 BC to 100 AD. This theory was based on nearby burial mounds that were definitely Adena. However, modern archaeological techniques have thrown a fascinating wrench in the works. In the 1990s, radiocarbon dating was conducted on charcoal samples found within the mound itself. The results were surprising, suggesting a construction date around 1070 AD. This points not to the Adena, but to a later group known as the Fort Ancient culture. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Some recent studies suggest that while the Fort Ancient people may have modified or repaired the mound, its original construction could still be much older, possibly aligning with the Adena after all. It's a classic archaeological debate, with each piece of new evidence adding another layer to the mystery. Were the Fort Ancient people simply custodians of an even older sacred site? Or were they the original creators, inspired by beliefs and traditions we are only just beginning to understand? This uncertainty is part of what makes the Serpent Mound so captivating. Perhaps the most mind-bending aspect of the Serpent Mound is its incredible astronomical precision. This wasn't just placed randomly on a hill. The head of the serpent aligns perfectly with the sunset on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. Furthermore, the coils seem to correspond with the rising points of the sun on the equinoxes and even the major and minor standstill points of the moon, which happen on an 18.6-year cycle. This is not a coincidence. This reveals a culture with a profound, sophisticated knowledge of astronomy. They were watching the sky, tracking the movements of the sun and moon, and embedding that cosmic calendar directly into the Earth. This structure was likely a place of ceremony, a giant celestial calculator used to mark the changing seasons, predict astronomical events, and connect the earthly realm with the cosmos. It tells us that the builders were not just primitive people, but keen observers, mathematicians, and astronomers who saw the world and their place in it as deeply intertwined with the heavens. So, why a serpent? Snakes and serpents hold powerful symbolic meaning in countless cultures around the world, and Native American traditions are no exception. They are often associated with water, the underworld, renewal, and transformation, because of their ability to shed their skin. In many belief systems, they are powerful beings who can travel between the physical and spiritual worlds. The specific image of a serpent consuming an egg or the sun could represent a variety of concepts. It might depict a creation myth, the cycle of birth and death, or the struggle between light and darkness. It could even be a representation of a specific astronomical event, like a solar eclipse, which would have been a terrifying and awe-inspiring sight to ancient peoples. Without any written records from the builders, we can only look to the broader cultural context of the region to interpret its meaning. It's likely the Serpent Mound was a focal point for rituals, a place where people gathered to ensure the changing of the seasons, the fertility of the land, and the balance of the universe. It was their church, their calendar, and their library, all written in the language of the earth. Adding to the intrigue is the mound's unique location. It sits on what is known as a crypto-explosion structure, a site that shows evidence of either a massive meteorite impact or a powerful gas explosion from deep within the Earth, hundreds of millions of years ago. The result is a landscape unlike any other in the region, with jumbled and faulted rock layers. Did the ancient builders know this? Did they sense a unique energy at this spot? It's possible. Many ancient, sacred sites around the world are located in places with unique geological features. Perhaps they chose this specific promontory not just for its commanding view, but because they believed it was a place of special power, a nexus point where the energies of the earth and sky met. This geological anomaly adds yet another layer of wonder to the site, suggesting the builders' connection to their environment was incredibly deep and nuanced. So, what happened to the Fort Ancient culture, the people most recently credited with this masterpiece? Like so many ancient societies, their story ends with a fade to black. Around the 17th century, their villages and ceremonial sites were abandoned. There's no single, clear reason for their disappearance. It was likely a combination of factors. The arrival of European diseases, to which they had no immunity, almost certainly played a devastating role. Increased conflict with other tribes, possibly spurred by competition for resources in a changing climate, also contributed. The world they knew was changing rapidly, and eventually their society fragmented and was absorbed into other groups. They left behind their mounds, their pottery, and their mysteries, but their voices fell silent. The Great Serpent Mound is their most enduring legacy, a silent testament to a world and a worldview that has been lost to time. It's a poignant reminder of how even great cultures can vanish, leaving behind only whispers and enigmatic monuments. Visiting the Great Serpent Mound today is a powerful experience. Managed by the Ohio History Connection, the site is a public park, allowing everyone to come and ponder its secrets. As you walk the path around the effigy, you can't touch the mound itself to preserve it, but you can feel its presence. You see the gentle curves, the deliberate shape, and you imagine the hands that patted this earth into place 1,000 years ago. Climbing the observation tower gives you that crucial bird's-eye perspective, where the serpent form truly reveals itself. It's a quiet, contemplative place. You can almost hear the echoes of ancient ceremonies, feel the anticipation of a solstice sunset, and sense the deep connection these people had with their world. It is a journey back in time and a humbling reminder of the enduring power of human creativity and our timeless quest to understand our place in the universe. The Great Serpent Mound is more than just an ancient earthwork. It's a direct link to the deep history of the American continent. It challenges our perceptions of the past, proving that sophisticated scientific knowledge and monumental artistry existed here long before European contact. It's a puzzle with missing pieces, inviting us to speculate, to research, and to respect the cultures that came before us. This silent serpent on a hill in Ohio holds a story of astronomy, spirituality, and a lost civilization. It reminds us that there are still profound mysteries buried in the earth, waiting for us to listen closely to their stories. The questions it raises, who, why, how, are what make it one of the most important and fascinating archaeological sites in the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey to the Great Serpent Mound. What do you think this incredible structure represents? Let me know your theories down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into ancient mysteries, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more adventures into the past. Every follow helps us continue to explore these amazing stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Today, we're journeying deep into the heart of Ohio to uncover one of North America's most enigmatic and breathtaking ancient monuments, the Great Serpent Mound. Imagine a massive, winding serpent, over 1,000 feet long, sculpted not from stone, but from the very earth itself. This isn't science fiction. This is a real place, a silent testament to a forgotten culture that has puzzled historians and archaeologists for centuries. So, what exactly is Serpent Mound? Picture this: a grassy, undulating effigy of a snake, nearly 1/4 of a mile in length, slithering across a high plateau overlooking a river valley. It's the largest surviving prehistoric effigy mound in the world. Its head appears to be uncoiling, perhaps about to swallow a large oval-shaped feature, which some interpret as an egg, the sun, or even a different celestial body. The body of the serpent gracefully curves 7 times, ending in a triple-coiled tail. The sheer scale is astounding. You can't fully grasp its shape from the ground. You have to see it from above, which is why there's an observation tower on site. It's a true masterpiece of landscape art, created by hands that worked without modern tools or technology. But the biggest question is, who built it and why? For a long time, the mound was attributed to 2 main cultures: the Adena people who were active around 800 BC to 100 AD, or the Fort Ancient culture who lived in the area, much later from about 1000 AD to 1650 AD. Early excavations in the late 1800s suggested an Adena origin due to burial mounds found nearby. However, more recent scientific analysis, using radiocarbon dating on charcoal fragments found within the mound itself, points to the Fort Ancient culture, dating its construction to around 1070 AD. Yet, the debate isn't entirely settled. Some researchers argue that the charcoal samples might not represent the mound's original construction, but a later renovation or addition. They believe the sophisticated astronomical alignments embedded within the serpent's design are more characteristic of older cultures like the Adena, or even the Hopewell. So, while the evidence leans towards the Fort Ancient people, the mystery of its true builders isn't a closed book. It's a fascinating archaeological puzzle that reminds us how much we still have to learn about the ancient history of this continent. Now, let's talk about the mind-blowing part: the astronomical alignments. This isn't just a random sculpture in a field. The placement and orientation of Serpent Mound are incredibly precise. The head of the serpent aligns almost perfectly with the sunset on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. The coils of its body also appear to correspond with the sunrise on both the solstices and the equinoxes. Imagine ancient people, hundreds or even thousands of years ago, possessing such a deep understanding of the cosmos that they could chart the sun's path across the sky and then replicate that knowledge in a massive earthwork. This suggests the mound was a giant celestial calendar, a place for ceremony, and a way to track the changing seasons, which would have been vital for an agricultural society. It connects the people on the ground to the cycles of the heavens. It wasn't just art, it was a functional sacred instrument. The precision is so remarkable that it has led some to speculate about its purpose. Was it a site for rituals to ensure a good harvest? A place to mark the passage of time? Or a story of creation written into the landscape itself? The symbolism of the serpent is also incredibly powerful and found in cultures all around the world. In many Native American traditions, serpents are associated with water, the underworld, fertility, and renewal, because they shed their skin. They are seen as powerful beings that can travel between the physical and spiritual worlds. The oval shape at the serpent's mouth adds another layer of intrigue. Is it swallowing an egg, symbolizing creation or the cycle of life and death? Is it the sun, linking the earthly serpent to the power of the sky? Or could it represent something else entirely, like a specific astronomical event, such as a solar eclipse or even Halley's Comet, which made a notable appearance around the time the mound was likely built? The answer remains elusive, leaving us to wonder at the depth of its meaning. Another fascinating aspect of Serpent Mound is its unique geological location. It's built on the edge of a massive, ancient meteor impact crater known as the Serpent Mound crypto-explosion structure. This isn't a coincidence. The site is a geological anomaly, a place where the rock layers are jumbled and fractured from an impact that happened hundreds of millions of years ago. Did the ancient builders know this? Did they feel a special energy at this location? It's possible they chose this specific spot because it was different, a sacred or powerful place where the earth itself had been touched by the heavens. Building their celestial serpent right on the edge of this cosmic scar creates a powerful connection between the sky, the earth, and the people who lived there. Unlike many other ancient mounds in the region, Serpent Mound contains no burials within the serpent effigy itself. While there are burial mounds nearby from different time periods, the serpent itself was not a tomb. This reinforces the idea that its purpose was primarily ceremonial, astronomical, or symbolic. It was a public space, a gathering place, a focal point for the community's spiritual life. Imagine the scene. Ancient people gathered on this high plateau, watching as the setting sun on the solstice aligned perfectly with the head of their great serpent god. The air filled with chants, the light of fires dancing across the earthen scales. It must have been an awe-inspiring experience, connecting them to their world, their cosmos, and each other. Over the centuries, Serpent Mound has faced its share of threats. It was nearly plowed over by settlers in the 19th century before being saved by Frederick Ward Putnam of Harvard's Peabody Museum. He recognized its immense historical value, raised funds to purchase the land, and conducted the first scientific excavations. Thanks to his efforts and the work of countless preservationists since, the site is now a National Historic Landmark and is managed by the Ohio History Connection, ensuring it will be protected for generations to come. Today, you can visit the park, walk the paths around the mound, climb the observation tower, and feel the powerful presence of this ancient place for yourself. In 2008, Serpent Mound, along with several other Ohio earthworks, was nominated for inclusion on the UNESCO World Heritage List. This nomination recognizes these sites as masterpieces of human creative genius, bearing exceptional testimony to a cultural tradition which has disappeared. It places them on the same level of global importance as sites like Stonehenge or the Pyramids of Giza. It is a testament to the fact that the ancient history of North America is just as rich, complex, and awe-inspiring as that of any other continent. So, the Great Serpent Mound remains a beautiful enigma. It is a work of art, an astronomical observatory, and a sacred site, all rolled into one. It speaks of a sophisticated culture with a deep spiritual connection to the land and the sky. While we may never know the full story of its purpose or the exact beliefs of its creators, it continues to inspire wonder and curiosity in all who see it. It's a timeless reminder that the Earth holds ancient secrets, waiting for us to listen, to observe, and to marvel at the ingenuity of those who came before us. It's more than just an earthwork, it's a message across time, written in the language of the cosmos. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey to Serpent Mound. What do you think its true purpose was? Let me know your theories down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more mysterious ancient sites with me, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next adventure. Until next time, stay curious.